Hi everyone, it's Mariah Rossell. I am the Ranger lead for Colorado Burnal Equinox. Here, let me actually invite a couple people that were on before. Just to make sure that we are actually getting volume this time. All right. So can you guys hear me this time? Because the last one they couldn't hear me. So if you can hear me, hit the like button or give me a comment if you can hear me. Otherwise, I'm going to assume that I'm not able to be here good. Volume works fine this time. Okay, yay. Awesome. So hi everyone, I am Mariah Rossell. I am the Ranger lead for Colorado Burnal Equinox, which is an official regional event that's coming up this weekend. And I am also a panelist for a talk at the Colorado Rocky Mountain Burning Art Summit on enthusiastic consent. And one of the things that Danielle had asked, the moderator of the panel had asked, was, can she get the consent policies of all of the different events that are going to be speaking on this panel? And so I spoke to Birthday, who is our event lead this morning actually, to ask him, do we have a consent policy for Burnal Equinox? Because being Ranger lead, I probably should know that. And the conversation came of that we actually didn't have one. We had tried really hard to have no policies and procedures, or as few of them as possible. And so the decision that we actually made this morning was that we are going to adopt the 11th principle of consent for Colorado Burnal Equinox. And Colorado Burnal Equinox is an official regional Burning Man event. It's happening this weekend in Bailey, Colorado. And so I'm really, really excited that we are going to be adopting the 11th principle of consent. And it's been something that's been going around in the Burning Man community for a couple of years. I believe it's developed by the Transformist community. And so most of what I'm going to say here today, I'm really stealing from the 11th principle consent people from Transformist, but I just really want to talk about consent and especially Colorado Burnal Equinox. So we're having an event coming up. It's going to be a small event, so we're mostly going to have seasoned burners. But one of the big things about the 10 principles is this idea of inclusion. Inclusion means we welcome the stranger. It means everybody's welcome. So we have this role of acculturating newbies. And the other thing is, we talk a lot about inclusion, and this comes up with consent. Well, does inclusion mean that we include everybody, including people that we know violate consent? No. Inclusion means we include everyone until we know there's a reason to disinclude them. And we don't want to disinclude people. You know, our goal is radical inclusion. We want everyone to be there. We want to acculturate people. And at the same time, we don't want to create a culture where people don't feel safe to be there. And yes, burning communities, we inherently do things to push boundaries. This is not a happy, safe zone. Everybody's going to feel good. And everybody has the ability to have the experience they want to have at the burn. And if the experience that they want to have at the burn is excluded from having it because people are doing unhealthy behavior, then that's going to be an issue. And so we really need to have this consent conversation as a part of acculturation. And so what is consent? So consent is clear. Consent's not, maybe, I might be okay with that. Consent's not, no. Consent's not, I was passed out. Consent's not, no one is around, so I thought it was okay. Consent is, fuck yeah. Consent's like, oh my gosh, yes, please, I want to do that. Let's do that together. Can we please? So consent is clear. Consent is coherent. So if we don't have coherent consent, then what this means is that we need to have People that are actually saying yes in a way that we understand. It's not mumbled. It's not incapacitated by drugs. It's not sober. And this is always a hard thing, you know. At all events, people aren't exactly sober. But really, people can't consent if they're not sober. So that's going to be a really big question to ask is the person that I am wanting to engage with whatever, are they sober? Can they say, yes, I want to whatever, and do it in a safe, sober way? Are they willing? Because consent can't be given under pressure. And we can see this very easily in a child-adult relationship. You know, there's going to be a power differential. But what is the power differential adults can have? Are you actually truly giving consent, or are you being pressured? You know, is your boss asking? Is somebody that has power over you? Are you afraid that, well, if you say no, then you're going to have this other downfall? Then that consent's really not able to be given. Obviously, if there's threat of violence, if there's manipulation, if there's threats, you know, any of those things are going to inherently mean that we're not giving consent. And then finally, consent is ongoing. So I can say yes to you today. Oh, sure, come give me a hug today. And then tomorrow, no, actually, I don't want a hug from you. And you should actually ask for consent every single time. And we can rescind consent at any time during the practice, too. You know, halfway through a hug. Yes, I love getting hugs. If you guys know me personally, you know I absolutely love hugs. I'm a hugger. But halfway into that creepy 10-minute long hug, you know, I could totally be like, you know what? I'm kind of over hugging you right now. Or if it's a sexual activity, or halfway into a photo shoot. And so whatever it is, and then consent has boundaries, right? So yeah, you can take that picture, but you can't post it on Facebook. Or you can take that picture and please, I would love it if you posted it on your blog, and please tag me, you know, say who I am. And so really, what is that consent? So consent involves a lot of communication. And so that's going to be a really big thing. And then we talk about consent. So the Me Too movement was a big thing that went around. And it was all about sex, whether it was sexual harassment, sexual assault, rape. And consent is very important in sex. But consent is so important in all of these other things. And that's one of the really big things that this 11th principle of consent movement is bringing out, and that we as burners really want to talk about. So I've talked about touch, you know, and so touch can be hugs, touch can be sex, touch can be, can I tuck the tag into the back of your shirt? You know, touch is any type of touch. And when we get into sex, consent for one thing doesn't mean blanket consent. Just because I say, yes, I want to play a scene with you, or yes, I want to go to bed with you, doesn't mean everything. You know, maybe you like a certain thing. Maybe you like spanking. Maybe you like being tied up. Maybe you like this, that, or the other. But just because you say yes to one thing sexually doesn't mean, oh, sure, you can do whatever you want. And so this is that idea of consent being ongoing. Is this okay? Do you like this? Can we keep doing this? And then gifts. Gifts is a huge one. So tell people what's inside your gifts. Maybe there's an essential oil in there. Maybe there's something they're allergic to. Maybe somebody is allergic to peanuts. We don't know what their sensitivities are. So when you're giving gifts, or maybe you're just giving them something that they think is moot. And I love when people want to give me things. I love getting gifts at Burns. And there's so many times I come home from Burns with lots of things that, I hate to say this, but it's true, are moot to me. And so how do we, when we offer someone gifts, actually offer it? Here, may I give this to you? Not, here, take this, the thing that you may or may not actually want, or maybe something that you're allergic to. So not only say what it is, but be comfortable. If somebody says, actually, that's not something that I really want, or I don't have pockets, I know I'm going to drop that. Foods. Consent with foods are huge. And respect. Respect people being vegan or vegetarian or gluten-free or having peanut allergy or whatever that is. That's also a part of consent, is I consent to put whatever this is in my body. And just because you may not agree that that person's vegetarian or vegan or gluten-free or allergic to strawberries, it doesn't matter. They need to know what's in that food and consent to putting that food in their body. And especially mind-altering substances. And one, people might not like them. Two, you never know. People might be on drug tests for work. They might be on drug tests for probation. They might just not want to be on whatever substance it is. They might have religious reasons. It doesn't matter what those reasons are, and you don't get a judge. It's very important. And so this is also a really big thing that I haven't seen done very much at Burns, and I would really love to see happen, is food labeling. Like, if you're going to leave a box of magic brownies out on the table, label it. And if it has, I would love to see even homemade foods have their list of ingredients on them. I know most people are probably not going to go that far, but this is how we can create consent culture, is through conversation, through information, by sharing that with people. And then another big one that we always talk about is photography. So ask before you take pictures, and remember that just because I say, yes, you can take my photo, doesn't mean, yes, you can post it on Facebook, or yes, you can use it for the cover of your book, or whatever it is. Because there's so many people, for whatever reason, they don't want their photo out there. Maybe they're nude and it would jeopardize their job. Maybe their mom wouldn't like it. Maybe they just don't like it. It doesn't matter why. It just matters, did you ask them, and did you get their consent? And so those are just some really basic things on consent. And so we are going to be really trying to educate more and more about the 11th principle and consent with the Colorado Burnal Equinox that's coming up this weekend. So I'm really excited to come play with all of you guys. If you have any questions, if you're confused about it, we will have our ranger team on site. If you do run into any consent violations, come talk to us. And immediacy is one of the really big keys, because one of the things about consent is education. And some consent violations are big enough that we will take effort and kick somebody out, ban them if we have to. But a lot of things, it's just an education. It's oh, I didn't know. And I didn't know is not an excuse, but I didn't know is a segue into a conversation to educate. Because that's one of the things that radical inclusion means. Radical inclusion means that we are going to educate the newbies, and we're going to do our best to acculturate them. And then if those conversations don't go well, if they don't actually do what needs to happen, then we can escalate, But we all make mistakes. We were all virgins once. And so come, talk to your ranger team, talk to each other, educate each other, and let's make this event really consent positive. And I love this idea about enthusiastic consent. And so and also find this in yourself. This has been one of the things I think we all struggled with. I've struggled with myself too. People are like, would you like to do X, Y, or Z? And I'm like, I don't know. And it's not that it's a maybe, and I'm not really giving consent. It's I haven't even considered if I wanted to do X, Y, or Z in the first place. And so this can be a really fun thing with the idea of enthusiastic consent, is not only does it teach you healthy boundaries and communication with each other, but it also helps you know yourself better. Because when you can say, yes, this is what I really want to do, now you know yourself just that little bit better. So thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you guys have any questions, ask me, let me know, and let's keep educating ourselves and our community on consent, the 11th principle, and being really enthusiastic about it. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. You're welcome, Leah. I'm so happy to do this PSA. And I will keep doing more of these because this is just a lesson that our community needs to learn in ourselves, and then we can share it with the rest of the world because that's where it really starts. So thanks, everyone. Have a good night. Bye-bye.